Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Kellys of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my wonderful co-host, Musketeer, more like Muscatastrophe, John. For those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Every week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies, and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. This week we will be talking about the 16th animated Barbie movie, Barbie and the Three Musketeers. And with us to discuss we have a returning guest, Rachel.
Hello.
So, yeah, but before we jump in, do you have any familiarity with the Three Musketeers story?
The original?
Yeah.
Or... No.
Nope. How about you,
I like
John?
the candy bar.
What I know from the Three Musketeers comes from the Mickey Mouse film. And there was a show from the BBC called The Musketeers that came out in 2014. I watched the first 2 seasons of that, and that's the main knowledge that I have of the characters.
Yeah, I like John, I'm only familiar with the Three Musketeers story through other media. Specifically, I've seen the 2011 version. I believe I've also seen the Mickey Mouse version. And yeah, I mean, they're big pop culture figures. The original book was written by the French author Alexandre Dumas. It was published throughout 1844. It was actually a serialized novel, so it came out one chapter at a time in a magazine. Mm-hmm. So it is a long book. Yeah. I believe 700 pages is kind of the average count for it, and it's written like a lot of serialized works where it's, the chapter is maybe a bit of a self-contained adventure that it ends in a cliffhanger to keep you reading next week or next month or whenever the next installment comes out.
And then it keeps going even when it's finished.
Yep. And there were actually several Three Musketeers novels written throughout his lifetime. He also wrote Count of Monte Cristo, another very famous book, though not adapted into a Barbie movie yet. We'll see when they get to that one.
Yes.
That would be a different kind of movie.
Yeah, this Barbie and the Three Musketeers, it was released September 15, 2009 on DVD. It also had a short theatrical run like a lot of these Barbie movies we've been talking about recently. It played on Nickelodeon on November 22nd, so a few months after it came out. And it's directed by William Lau, who's returning from... He did a lot of the Fairytopia movies. And this time we have a first-time Barbie writer, Amy Wolfram. She previously worked on Cartoon Network shows like Teen Titans, Ben 10, and Legion of Superheroes.
I can actually see her influence in this.
Yeah, this is a lot more action-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she also typically wrote for the female leads of those shows. Those are typically their episodes.
That's neat that they brought her on for this Barbie movie then. And she's actually written a few of the future Barbie movies, so we'll probably get some chances to talk about her down the line as well.
Mm-hmm.
And music is, once again, Eric Colvin doing the music. Yeah, he's been doing quite a few of these.
Arnie Roth was also involved with this one.
Okay, I must have missed that in the credits.
I thought I saw that in the credits.
Yeah, he and the Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah,
yes.
I could see that too.
Yeah, they must have changed their name. I did notice that, the Czech Philharmonic Orchestra now.
Wait,
kind of a pun.
I missed that. Good.
Yeah, the story is loosely inspired by the original novel. This is, as we talked to The Christmas Carol, this is another one of those very often adapted works of literature. John mentioned the Mickey Mouse Three Musketeers version. There's quite a few live action versions.
But it's not as popular as Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
no.
not nearly as popular, but it is kind of the ultimate historical adventure novel. It's kind of a
Yeah.
very often thought of, and it's swashbuckling adventure and excitement and romance and political intrigue and all of these things. And the Barbie movie has a lot of those elements as well, though it's actually set after the time of the original novel. And it follows Corinne, who is the daughter of the protagonist of the original novel, D'Artagnan.
She also plays D'Artagnan's role from the original novel as well.
Yes, this is one of those sequels that's also, well, quote-unquote sequels, that's also very much adapting the work it is supposedly a sequel to. And yeah, she leaves, she lives on a farm with her mother, and she dreams of becoming a musketeer just like D'Artagnan did in the original book, and leaves for Paris. But when she arrives, no one really takes her seriously. She actually accidentally angers 3 other women, Vivica, Armina, and Renee. This is a scene that's very directly inspired by a scene from the original novel where she runs into all 3 of them, and all 3 of them kind of get angry at her. None of them challenge her to a duel in this one, and it kind of introduces all 3 of the characters. Then eventually she winds up in the palace, where she accepts a job as a cleaning lady alongside the 3 women she just happened to have bumped into in her misadventures. And after a chandelier falls, nearly killing the prince, the 4 women discover that they all have dreams of becoming musketeers, and they are trained by Hélène, an elderly cleaning woman who secretly knows the ways of the musketeers and has this training room that's built in this castle that everyone's forgotten about. And one day, Corinne saves the prince from a hot air balloon accident. The 2 initially have a bit of a romantic connection, but Corinne storms off after the prince tells her that women can't be musketeers. Very sort of sexist thing for him to say, and that's one of the themes of the movie. And then Corinne actually realizes that the chandelier and the balloon accident had similarities, and discovers this plot by the evil regent Philippe to assassinate the prince at the masquerade ball. They try to warn the prince, but are kicked out of the palace, so they have to sneak into the ball and save the day. And after they save the prince, he makes them musketeers as thanks for their help, and he wants to rekindle his romance with Corinne, but she's called off on a mission and rides off into the sunset with the other 3 musketeers. So yeah, very, very, it's taking elements from the original story, but then also kind of
That
adding
sounds
and
like an
adapting.
exciting story.
Yeah. It's bringing in the sort of an assassination plot line and all of the political intrigue in the original, and it's interesting. We have Tim Curry plays Philippe, who's very similar to Cardinal Richelieu in the original story, and Tim Curry actually played Cardinal Richelieu in the 1990 live-action adaptation.
Huh.
So he's kind of returning to a similar role here. But yeah, it's not really a direct adaptation, but it is very, very much inspired by the story.
Right.
I have mixed thoughts because I did really like it, and I thought there were some clear goals for the story and the characters, like with her wanting to follow her dreams and Louis wanting to follow his.
Yeah, so some common themes between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I did like that. I don't know, because, like, part of me is like, it feels a little very cliche, because it's very much a follow your dreams, achieve your dreams. Right, but, like, it's still really good. I don't know, I thought it was still really good, even though it's, like, very so familiar.
It's solid and messy at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
Part of that,
Yeah.
of course, is having our typical animal characters that don't have much to do with the plot. So I have no idea why the dog immediately antagonized Kareen. For what reason? What's he doing there? Like, why is he?
Well, because he's the evil guy's dog. So
I know
he's
that,
evil
but like,
dog.
why? What's the point? The dog shows up, and I'm immediately like, oh, that's the evil guy's dog. You didn't even have to tell me. I just looked at that dog. It's like, that dog looks angry. He must be the bad guy.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely got that. And I don't know. No one did anything to the dog. Dog just chose vengeance.
He just decided to be a jerk. Why? Because he's the bad guy. We needed to know this.
Yeah, I think the evil plot in this one is maybe one of the weaker elements. It's like the plot itself is fine, but we don't get a ton about Philippe as a character. Like
Right.
his motivations are just kind of the standard take over the kingdom and be in charge.
Yeah, because I believe it was the Cardinal. He was just a character who served so much for the king but didn't get much in return. Here he's just... he wants to keep his position of power.
Right. Since Louis has grown up.
Yeah, he's about to
Right.
become king.
But he doesn't want to be king. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Philippe is obvious bad guy. Would probably not be a great king, but at the same time, maybe if we just had some communication. Instead
Monarchy,
of-
there's no choice in the monarchy.
I don't know. Let's just dissolve the monarchy. We could talk this out.
Yeah, everybody gets the guillotine at the end.
It is France.
Yep.
Yeah. So Philippe, the dog, and that eye patch guy. We see them roll away, but we know what happens. Their heads are cut off.
I like a lot of the stuff going on here. As we've previously established, I love anytime there's like political intrigue going on in the background. And there's a lot of that here. That's basically the bulk of the plot is, you know, who's going to be in power and who's trying to assassinate who and what's going on. And I mean, it's never a mystery. Like, they have some of Corinne kind of going around and solving mysteries, but the audience always knows who the bad guy is.
I mean, as soon as we found out that the dog belongs to Philippe, and he's voiced by Tim Curry, he's the villain.
Yeah. Well, just look at the guy, and it's like, I wonder.
You even have the eye patch guy, which I was really hoping that he wasn't the villain, just
Yeah.
so it's not so obvious.
Yeah. Would really love them to pull a little switcheroo sometime where the eye patch guy or the evil looking guy is like, chill.
Yeah.
Like, can we just have like one thing like that?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, not this movie. This movie does, as John said, it sticks pretty closely to the tropes and the movements and the characters you would expect. But I agree with Rachel that it is well structured and well organized, and it actually works here. Even though it is being very sort of tropey and cliche, as opposed to, you know, Thumbelina, which we talked about last week. That one never quite grabbed my attention, whereas here, maybe it's just that this is an adventure movie, and
It's also very convenient of a film.
yeah, there's a lot of plot contrivances. I don't know, I didn't find any of that distracting while I watched it, though obviously thinking about it afterwards, you're like, oh yeah, some things don't quite add up here.
I mean, we had that very long chase sequence at the beginning.
With the
Yep.
dog? Yeah.
With the dog and cat, and they meet the characters, and then she ends up getting a random job out of nowhere, where it just so happens that those characters work at.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it just so happens that they want to be musketeers too. And it just so happens that this old lady knows musketeering.
Yep.
And it just so happens that that's where the prince is.
The one random line where, like, they all want to be musketeers, I was just like, oh, how convenient. And just, especially since all the women seem to have, like, their own very distinct interests and personality.
That's exactly what I wrote down. How convenient.
How to be like, wait, all of you? Okay.
Yeah. It's again, I think for me, I knew where it was headed, so it never really.
I mean, I did too, but still.
So, Rachel, you brought up this thing about sort of the character desires and how there's this common theme of like what people want in their dreams and how far they're willing to fight for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously Corinne is like the central figure for that because she has this dream of being a musketeer. But that's also, you know, the other women in the story also want to be musketeers, and that kind of ties them together. And it ties them together with Helene, who, I mean, I don't know
I
if they
love
ever
her.
get her backstory, but yeah.
Did you see the quote at the end of the credits?
I don't know. Wait,
No, I
maybe
didn't.
not.
The quote at the end of the credits is like, follow your dreams. Don't let anyone tell you different. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
The same thing we're talking about.
And you don't even need to have Barbie narrating to Kelly that's the message of the story. They're able to get it across very clearly.
Yeah.
And they maybe hit it a bit too much on the nail, but this is a movie for kids, so we could forgive them of that a little bit. And then it even ties Corinne and Louis together, and his big failing as a character is not recognizing that it ties them together.
I love where she calls him out on that, though, too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you get him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a... He's got his head in the clouds, both figuratively and literally.
I was not expecting that from him, though. To, like, just the random line, like, girls can't be musketeers. And I was like, wow, thought you would be better.
It's a
You were so
cultural thing.
wholesome before that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, he does have a bit of an arc throughout the movie, though it's
Right.
very in the background, but I actually like that Corinne actually has an arc here where, and I don't know, I think
What's her arc?
so a lot of these Barbie movies, because Barbie always has to be kind, clever, and brave, and so usually she doesn't get much of an arc, the Barbie character, but here we actually see she starts the movie sort of naive, and she shows up in Paris with these big dreams, but maybe doesn't have sort of a realistic way of achieving them. But then throughout the movie, she, in keeping her eyes on her goal, but then also adapting and learning and being willing to train and to put in the effort, she is eventually able to achieve her dreams. So it's not just, you know, it's important to have dreams. It's also a functional thing of like, it's important to have dreams, but you also need to take the steps to make those dreams a
And earn it.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And earn it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
because like showing up saying, I'm going to be a musketeer is not the same as the rules needed to be a musketeer. Serve the king, do some brave acts, and then the king will decide.
Yeah. And in that sense, I think this movie has a really solid third act. Where it's, you know, it's the women have been banned from the palace. So they have to like heist their way into the ball, and then you have this fun scene of them introducing themselves, and they all give fake names.
That
and
was amazing.
yep, Corinne is obviously Lady Barbecue.
I did hear that. Barbie.
Yep. And
Yes.
I believe one of them is Countess Ivana Party.
Yep.
And
The
there's
other names
Abby
are quite as fun.
Birthday.
And, yep.
And,
and
Countess
Heather
Ed
Lettuce.
of Cabbage.
Heather Lettuce, excuse you.
Yeah. And they infiltrate this masquerade ball, and then there's like this big action scene, and it's a bit cheesy, and we'll talk about the action, but, it's this big and exciting moment, and then you have this fight on the rooftops, and Corinne saves the prince, and it's, I don't know, it's
But
effective.
she sticks her landing.
Yeah.
Like, look at that character.
No, yeah, she's put in the effort, put in the work, and now she can do the thing.
I could believe that anyway. She's a cartwheeler.
She is. So many cartwheels.
I you know what? I started through the film, and halfway through I felt like I should restart and just count how many cartwheels are in this film. I didn't, but I really wish I did.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
That's the first note that I wrote down is cartwheels.
I wish I could do a cartwheel.
Yeah, there's a lot of flips and flops and spins, and
Yeah.
I have a theory as to why, which I'll save for the animation, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know, I found the third act satisfying and exciting.
Yeah. Right, the build-up.
Yeah.
I mean, I had things to say, more so in
Yeah.
design, but
Okay.
I guess plot-wise, it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure about the evil plan at the ball. Like, part of me was just like, meh. Like, that's kind of bland, but I was also very upset that when the girls tried to, like, point out the plot and the swords weren't there. It was just, there was a part of me that's like, no! But also,
they had a
part of me was
fan
just
and
like,
a string and a slingshot.
yeah, I was also
I
gonna,
get it,
their
it's toyetic.
weapons.
And diverse,
Yeah.
but it's like,
And non-lethal.
why?
But the slingshot is what really got me. It was like, a sling... Right. it was
Barbie's
just like,
the only one who
yo.
gets the sword.
Yeah,
They're
but it's like, she
musketeers.
just got
They should all have swords.
ribbons.
And at the end, when they all have swords. And it's like, but what happened to
Good.
your weapons? Why do you have swords now?
Well, because the swords are better weapons. Why would they want those old things anymore?
Because it represents their
swords.
character.
No. I mean, it does, but
Yeah.
no, that's dumb. I didn't like their weapons.
Yeah, no.
There's nothing practical about their original weapons.
No, it's
You know,
just something they can sell with a toy.
Yeah, no.
Barbie gets a special sword that's colorful.
Ooh.
Everyone else gets colored objects too.
Because Barbie's not like other girls. I don't know.
No, she gets a sword.
Yeah.
She can do cartwheels.
She can do cartwheels.
That's her only combat move. Cartwheel in.
Yeah. Overall, I gave the plot a 4 out of 5. Or, sorry, a 4.5 out of 5. I don't know, I just found it engaging and entertaining and exciting in a way that a few of the previous Barbie movies haven't quite felt that way for me. So I was just happy to... And it's such a different direction. This is a pure adventure, action, comedy movie.
I gave it a 3.5. It's a solid story, but there's just a lot of convenience, a lot of unnecessary moments, and too much of the animals. Not as much as others, but still, they took up a lot of time.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. Yeah, again, like, it's pretty solid for what it is, though it's just so tropey and typical, even though it was still very entertaining. I don't know, I feel like I've heard this story many times. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair...
I may be expecting too much from a Barbie movie to say that, because it was good for what it was, and I feel like it did tie up a lot of ends.
Yeah.
Or things that it introduced, so yeah, no, it was solid in that way.
Yeah. So, up next we have the characters. So, our central character is Corinne, who's... I mean, she's similar to a lot of the Barbie protagonists, but as I mentioned before, she starts out kind of naive and has to learn how things work in the world, and again has to put in the effort to actually achieve her dreams. And I found it even though she's still the same kind, clever, and brave as all of the other Barbie heroes, I just found her so much more interesting here than usual.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's sort of I could be wrong because may have missed some things, but is this kind of the first movie where she's not a fairy or a princessy kind of thing? Like, this is a lot more action-y.
This is the first time the character wants to be a specific swashbuckler versus
Okay.
wanting to explore or be passive.
Yeah, she's a lot more active here, which is always exciting.
She does cartwheels.
I don't know, maybe it's just because of the different adventure genre, where it's just a very different genre than we've seen so far. Maybe.
Yeah. It is very, like, it's far removed from these sort of more magical stories where it's a bit more grounded. It's very much working in the same sort of, or a similar setting as the novel it's based on. It is taking liberties here and there, but...
So, when's this movie supposed to be set? You said it's set after the book, or?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I believe the book is set in the 1600s.
Okay.
So, somewhere in that.
Okay.
It's...
That's about what I thought, because that's the kind of vibes I was getting. Like, there's some sort of, like, I don't know, Renaissance kind of vibe.
She does cartwheels.
She does do cartwheels.
Yeah, she does. She does them good. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Three Musketeers themselves. For me, I mean, they aren't nearly as well developed as their literary counterparts. But obviously, this is an hour and a half movie compared to a...
We don't have 700 pages.
Well, and a lot of the development of those characters actually comes in later books as well. There's a lot in The Man in the Iron Mask that kind of digs deeper into those characters. So for this movie, I thought they did a very good job making each of them unique.
Yeah, I also really liked that. Well, they did that.
I mean, kind of, but they're not as developed as I feel they should. Because they all blend. They're all the same character to me.
Sorta. Like, yeah, they do have very similar vibes, but I don't know. The fact that they took the time to develop interests for each...
That I wish that they would represent more. Because the fashion one designs the stuff, and that's great. But the other two kind of don't.
Yeah, they have... So the three of them, we have Vivica, who is the fashion designer, obsessed with fashion, and then she also uses French words. Those are kind of her two character traits.
Yeah.
We have Aramina, who's the dancer, and she likes acting and performing, and she's very romantic and idealistic. And then we have Renee, who's a bit thornier and a bit more practical, but she eventually warms up to Corinne, and she's a musician. And yeah, they're... I don't know, I found them different from each other.
Yeah.
But if you ask me to, like, pick out which of the three based on their names is which, I don't know that I could do it.
Which one's Vivica?
Yeah.
Oh, I could.
Okay. Yeah. For me, it didn't work, though. It sounds like it did for you, Rachel.
Oh. I also kind of use the dress colors a bit.
Okay.
Sort of. I don't know. I feel like Aramina and Renee stick out more to me than Vivica. Vivica feels like she's just also there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you can mess up Aramina. Like, she's very much herself.
Yeah. I would agree that she's the one I could, like...
Right.
Identify most quickly.
And Renee definitely has, like, a ringleader kind of vibe, but also just with, like you were saying with her being thornier, there's also that. She has a different attitude going in.
Yeah.
So she's very identifiable in that way, too.
Yeah. And they're standing in for the Porthos, Athos, and I believe it's Aramis from the original book. I don't know exactly who in the original either, so it's like my criticisms here are coming with a grain of salt of like
one's very serious with a tormented past, one's a drunkard, and the other one's in love with the queen.
Okay. Yeah, I remembered sort of like bits and pieces of who they are, but it has been a few years since I last saw any Three Musketeer stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I found them compelling, even if, I won't qualify that. I found them compelling.
Yeah. I feel like they show random sides of femininity in a way. I don't know. But then they're like, them all wanting to be a musketeer ties them together, but they're all very different women from kind of similar walks of life, but not quite, and different interests, but at the same time they just come together to be musketeers. I don't know, there's something there, kind of like the representation of different forms of femininity getting along with each other.
Yeah, and that they're wanting to be a musketeer.
Yeah. They don't feel threatened by the others wanting to be musketeers. Yeah. Like, they support each other instead of, like, women putting other women down.
And even that they want to be musketeers in this sort of society where being a musketeer is this very masculine thing, but none of them are masculinized by the story, by their characterization. They're all, their hobbies are all distinctly feminine things. Yeah, I think oftentimes there's this sort of thing of like, well, when you have the female warrior, she has to be like the stoic, what's a good word for it? She has to be the stoic hero. She has to be the military person, right. Or like, where here it's like, no, you could have this femininity and also have them be action heroes.
Yeah. No. I did appreciate that kind of thing. Although, like, the cynical side of me is like, oh, they did that because toys, and also because it's Barbie, so they have to keep them, like, it's still cutesy, instead of going full badass, or... But yeah. I like to think it's not that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, next up we have Miette, the cat.
Oh, boy.
Who is a reskin of the cat from 12 Dancing Princesses.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a while. Does the cat in 12 Dancing Princesses talk?
Yeah. The cat in 12 Dancing Princesses is very forgettable.
Okay. I didn't think so. I thought she just kind of danced on the sidelines. I didn't think she really talked.
I don't remember there being a cat in that film.
There is. I'm gonna find the image. Yes, Twyla.
Okay, because I was gonna say Seraphina. I'm like, no, Seraphina is Princess and the Pauper. But yeah, Twyla. I don't remember her talking though. But Miette does.
Wants to be a musketeer.
Yeah, she does.
Why? I don't know. Because we gotta have that Puss in Boots money.
I didn't even think of it that way. It was just like, I don't know, she's the animal companion. Mm-hmm. She wants to be Musketeer because Corinne wants to be Musketeer.
I believe at the time Puss in Boots was popular because of Shrek.
The Puss
2009.
The Puss in Boots movie must have come out at about the same time.
It came out 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Damn.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that played a role here. I don't know. I didn't find her as annoying as some of the animal sidekicks.
I didn't either. Like, kind of, but, like, I wish she wasn't in it as much, but...
I'd take her out completely.
I mean, yeah, you could easily just completely take her out.
Her and the Patrick Stewart horse.
Patrick Stewart horse? The horse didn't really bother me, but the horse didn't really do
I would
anything.
Prefer the horse over the cat.
Oh, I would too. I don't really see a need for the horse to talk either. I don't know. I feel like... Well, okay, he did know the secret entrance. I guess he knew that. he contributed in that way. But otherwise, I don't know if we'd really needed any animals to talk.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it seemed rather unnecessary, even though they weren't too annoying to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Not nearly as bad as Shiver.
Who?
Shiver, the,
Polar bear.
yeah, the baby polar bear.
Oh, jeez.
Sparkle, sparkle!
So, yeah, the next up we have Helene, who's the older lady who also happens to have the exact skills of the musketeer.
I love her.
Yeah, she's fun. She's a spin on the, like, tough but fair mentor.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I found her fun to watch. Like, the reveal of who she actually is, where she, like, cracks her back and then, like, stands up straight and starts fighting. It's fun.
No, it's great. She's just this little old lady, and suddenly she kicks their asses, and she's amazing. I do wish we got... I am super curious about her background, though. Because, like she did want to be a musketeer, too.
Yeah.
And she didn't get there. But I don't know, I wish we knew more about that.
She was probably one of the stable people who watched them train and
Maybe.
learned from that.
Yeah.
Could be.
And even just by sort of, like, cleaning the castle, she probably picked up on, like, different training sessions. And then she knows where the secret training room that everyone else forgot about is.
And that was so weird, though. It's like, yeah, everyone just forgot about this old training room. And it was just like, okay. Like, yeah, I understand building a new training room, but people forgot about it?
They must have died.
Well, see, that's what I wonder. I'm wondering how old this room is.
So the official thing of that is that Monsieur Treville originally trained the musketeers in the palace, but then he got his own space for it. So that's why they left, and it was kind of forgotten about. But yeah, that isn't, like, well established.
Right. That's still very weird. That's like, okay, but how long ago could that be? 30 years? Everyone just freaking forgot about this secret training room? I don't know. It's just like, okay. Like, it's neat and all, but...
It's, as John was talking about, it's a convenience.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of the last of our heroes, or not quite a hero in this case, is Prince Louis.
I liked him.
He's a dork.
Yeah,
in a sweet way.
Yeah.
He's probably the lower tier Kens that we've had.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I disagree. I feel like he's more fleshed out than a lot of the Kens. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong there. I don't know. I feel like he had more personality than they tend to get.
Yeah, he's a lot less heroic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of liked it. He has that, like... Oh, I don't know how to quite describe it beyond, like... He has that sort of, like, lost puppy quality where you just want to... He
has the golden retriever energy.
He needed something more.
I thought he was adorable. I like him.
I kind of agree with Rachel. I was rooting for him to, like, yeah, you get your balloon. You
Yeah. And then I was upset when he ended up being sexist. So I was like, no, Louis, you can do better than this.
I did actually find that to be an interesting flaw in his character.
I do think that worked well. I don't know.
Yeah. It ended up making their relationship more interesting, that he initially underestimates her.
Yeah.
And doesn't recognize that they are in this very similar situation.
Right. And also, I don't know, that just the fact that it presents a fight in the romance or some sort of obstacle in the romance. I'm not sure how often that happens in Barbie. I don't know. There just seems to be lots of times where it's just like, oh, he's so cute, and now we love each other. Where, like, she did seem to be, like, kind of into him, but she was very put off there. So it's like, oh, there's, like, a little obstacle of trying to get to know each other more for that to grow.
Yeah, it's an internal conflict rather than usually it's external conflicts to the romance.
Yeah.
I did notice he after Corinne like sasses him and walks off, he like smiled a bit. Like he definitely he wants a lady to boss him around. That's
But it was also very dangerous for Corinne to do that.
Yeah, damn.
Like she could have you know, to the
like,
aristocrats.
That's hot. She stood up to me.
Yeah, that sounds like Rachel and I found him more compelling than John did.
Yeah.
He's just very different than what we're used to. It's just like, ooh, Barbie's pushing the adorable, nerdy guys.
Right, but we've been kind of seeing this type of character for the past couple films.
I mean, I haven't been watching all of these, so maybe I could be missing a lot here. It's just not what I think of right away when I think of the Barbie princes or Kens or whatever.
Yeah, I found him different enough to be engaging. But,
sure.
Yeah.
We have you outnumbered.
I wish he wasn't the prince.
I think he wishes that as well.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be the prince either.
Anyway, we have Philippe.
He's a fine villain.
Yeah.
It's Tim
kind
Curry.
Of generic.
Yeah. He's not nearly as much fun, but at the same time he's a lot more dangerous than a lot of these villains have been.
I was a little upset that he wasn't so over the top with it being Tim Curry.
Yeah.
And it's just the villain's just kind of and it's just like, wow, that's a little upsetting.
Yeah, I think part of it going in knowing it was Tim Curry, I was maybe a little bit...
Yeah.
Like, they didn't give him the space to just go full, like, chewing all the scenery. No,
I was
very
fine
reserved.
with this, actually.
Okay.
I liked that he was a little more reserved with him being the cardinal. Although, you know, once he revealed himself at the end, probably could have done a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I should say, I'm of two minds about this, where, like, yeah, I agree with you, John, that it's nice to see a more reserved and a more serious villain, but that I do also, it's Tim Curry. I want to see him.
I mean, specifically for Tim Curry.
Yeah.
You know, he's playing this Regent Cardinal character who has to keep this secret, but then has a other side to him that we don't see.
Then next up we have his animal sidekick, Brutus, who's not the worst villain sidekick we've seen.
No?
I think the poodle from Princess and the Pauper is a little bit.
Okay.
And the monkey from 12 Dancing Princesses.
Oh, that's right. Isn't his name also Brutus? The monkey? Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. The dog was just there.
Yeah. So to antagonize the cat.
Mm-hmm. Why? I don't know. Why do these animals do anything?
Because we need animal toys.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
I mean, I'm not sure if you can really get a Brutus figurine.
Well, you can
figure.
definitely get a Miette. And then if you're playing with the figures, you want Miette to be able to fight someone.
Exactly. Yeah, they literally just do that, I think, for the animal companions. Like, and then he needs an animal companion. So that the animal companions can have their own secondary plot where they fight each other.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Except you can't ever get better than Seraphina and Wolfie, I think, in Animal Companion.
Yeah, we've seen a few better and a few worse. Well, maybe on the same level as Seraphina and Wolfie. And then quite a few who are...
Quite a few who are worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last character I have here, and there are other characters, though most of them kind of factor in very little or have very small roles, but I have Madame de Bossé, who, first off, great name.
Madame de Bossy.
I didn't realize until I was writing it out in my notes. Her name is Madame de Boss.
Yeah, I love it. She is the boss.
Yeah, that's just like, that's the kind of cheeky naming that I love in this kind of animated thing. And yeah, it must be, the more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing that you can really tell this is a different writer bringing in her own perspective and new ideas. And I was worried with Cliff Ruby and Alana Lesser being gone that the quality would go down, but for this movie it's so much fun to see a new perspective on these similar ideas. And the names here, because you also have the Lady Barbecue from later on, there's some fun.
It's so funny.
I wish Treville got more time, because he was a fair character.
Yeah, he seemed neat. Interesting.
Yeah, I do like the thing where he doesn't believe Corinne.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense for what would have happened at that time and in that society. Even though he's a good person, he isn't, like, flawless.
Meaning what?
Meaning he doesn't do the right thing in that moment.
Well, he does, but then he sees that, oh, the box doesn't have these swords in it, so she must be wrong.
Yeah. But that, he should be taking these threats to the prince more seriously, and he promised Corinne, like, if you need anything, come and find me.
Yeah, I was also a little upset how he brushed that off.
Yeah.
Like, because I was also upset that the box ended up not having the weapons, but, like, Corinne was like, we'll check them all. Maybe they're in a different box.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. I was a little upset how quickly he dropped it after opening just one of the boxes.
Yeah.
But then again, we need the final battle, so we can't do a full investigation.
Right, but they wouldn't have been in those boxes anyway.
Yeah, because they had the box that they were using was separate.
Oh, was it? Okay. I might have missed some of that. Lots of boxes.
Yeah, they snuck in through the secret passage with the swords.
Secret tunnel.
Yeah, there's a lot of secret tunnels in this movie. It fits in with the political intrigue of it. I liked it.
Mm. Why one of those tunnels is a slide?
Oh yeah, that's right. To the training room.
Yeah, I only see
amazing.
Once.
Yeah,
I love it.
Any other thoughts on the characters?
No.
I don't know. I don't think
so. The last character I did want to briefly mention is Philippe's sort of second in command, who I don't remember his name. I don't know if they even give him a name.
Who should have just...
Dude?
Yeah, the eye patch dude.
Who should not have been the villain.
Yeah. The one reason I bring him up is because he has a cool mask in the end that looks like the Phantom of the Opera mask.
I have no idea who he's fooling with that mask.
Exactly. It's not I just thought it was a fun reference because the original Phantom of the Opera, the book it is based on, is actually written by a French author, Gaston Leroux.
Oh wait, no, that makes sense. Yeah,
and I believe was written about maybe not exactly the same time as the Three Musketeers, but a classic French novel. So yeah, I thought it was a fun little reference, even if I didn't find that character at all interesting.
I must have missed that, but no, that is fun.
So, yeah, I gave the characters a 4.5 out of 5. I don't know, I just found them compelling. Pretty much all of them. And even, I didn't really like Miette, but she wasn't as annoying as some of the animal sidekicks, so...
Yeah, I have a low score for this one. I give it a 3. I didn't find them as compelling. I was actually very disappointed. A part of it is that we're so many films in, and I don't feel like they've gone as better as they should.
I gave characters a 4. Just because, I don't know, I feel like the side characters were decently developed for being side characters. But then, like, Corinne and Louis, I feel like were, I don't know, I liked how they developed more. I don't know. I thought it was good. Solid.
Yeah.
For what it is.
So, next up we have the animation.
Cartwheels.
And I've got to say, yes, we could actually do the action first, because there's a lot of cartwheels in this.
There is. Looks great.
Yeah, so I do want to get out of the way. Such an improvement over Thumbelina. So much better. The backgrounds are so much more vivid and like
although
detailed,
they could be a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just, the colors are deeper. The lighting is so much more dynamic. It's night and day between Thumbelina and this. I just found it absolutely such an improvement. Though, then we get to the cartwheels, and
oh god,
my theory about, because the action in this movie, like the movement of it when it's just two characters like with swords, it's very stiff.
I have a theory about that.
Yeah, my thought is a lot of the cartwheels and a lot of the flips in that is to kind of disguise how stiff the actual like two people with swords fighting actually ends up being.
Yeah, that was just so awkward. Like all the fights. I don't know, it seemed like any time they tried to do flips, it looked like you could see the wires. But it's animated. I don't know.
But with the fights, the choreography is there. The fights are just very... They look very staged.
Yeah.
And
yes,
what I think is going on here is I believe that there's either reference footage or mocap going on here. But whoever's doing the action is doing very specific staged movement, but not at a fast speed to make it as intense.
Oh.
You see this often during stage combat on theater, where if you're not as experienced, your movement's going to be very slow and just very not reactive, just
stiff.
Choreographed.
That was kind of the word that came to my mind.
I don't think it's stiff. It's
okay.
It's just planned. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because a lot of these Barbie movies have used motion capture dance, and dance is very methodical and very planned out, whereas combat isn't nearly that. So I wonder if it's them trying to use their experience animating dance and translate that to combat and it not quite working out. Because yeah, as you said, John, the blocking of it is absolutely phenomenal. The camera work and the editing are really, really good for all of the fight scenes. It's just the actual fighting in it doesn't...
They're doing animation, so they can speed up their movements by 25%, and that would have just solved this issue. Because there was one moment during the final fight where the fight was sped up a bit, and it actually looked great.
Okay.
It was just for a very small moment, though.
Yeah, it was the least effective part of the animation for me. Because everything else looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary characters, all of the models for them are great. As I said, the lighting is dynamic. The sets, everything is like the big fight scene at the Masquerade Ball is set in this giant room with like staircases and a bunch of fun stuff going on, and then in the background in the windows there are fireworks going off.
But they got these silly weapons.
Yes. But I don't know, that moment worked. Like everything came together for me in that moment where I was like, oh yeah, I'm in this. I'm enjoying it.
I don't
Even
like
if
their official musketeer outfits, because it's just their dance costumes with the musketeer cape and hat on. I wish there was a little more of a different outfit put there.
Yeah. Barbie or Corinne probably should have had pants like she did at the beginning.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know, when we were watching this, Scout was like, she's the only one wearing pants. And then, I don't know. But then later on, after she puts a dress on, she doesn't put pants on again.
Yeah.
I did think that was odd. Like, oh, she sort of does stick out because she's the only one wearing pants. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Plus the colors didn't match at the end. With the
because
with the very dark blue with the bright colors, not.
Oh yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either.
Yeah, if you just change those costume colors just to match, it'd be questionable, but it'd be a better aesthetic.
Yeah, but I gotta think pants would be much more practical.
Yeah, I actually think Corinne, at the beginning of the movie, her outfit is very well designed, where she's because she has the red, which we haven't seen the Barbie characters wear red, I think, ever in any of these movies.
Yeah. I liked her outfit at the beginning.
Yeah, and then she has the pants, which sets her apart, and her hat is cool.
Yeah, no, I liked her
and
design.
And then her dress at the end, it's like, oh, that looks like your average Barbie dress.
Yeah, it's like, I kind of wish we went back to the original look at the end.
Yeah.
Whereas, at the end, it's like, here's the Barbie doll that we're putting out.
Barbie doll that looks identical to every other Barbie doll in any of these movies.
Yeah. Corinne's original style was the best, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of cartwheels, though.
Oh my god.
Lots of cartwheels. Justin, I have no idea how she has that much energy left. She's got to be worn out for a fight after so many cartwheels.
Yeah.
She should just be a gymnast.
She just cartwheels 5 times.
I don't think she wants to be a musketeer.
And then gets to do a stand at the beginning.
Yeah, she's not the most efficient fighter, but she has style. She's got to count for something.
Yeah,
she's got style.
I mean, it looks kind of cool, but super awkward. But
cartwheels less near the end, but
whoa, it's part of her growth.
It is.
She realizes she doesn't need it. Kind of. Because then she does the really whack flip onto the horse at the end.
Anyway, I gave the animation a 4. Because there was a little more action put into this with the sword. And the choreography is fine. It's cool. We know it's a little bit slower. And the cartwheels, there's a lot of them. But they're not terrible looking.
Yeah, I'm honestly gonna bump my score up to a 4.5. Right. I think, again, the action, you could use a lot of work, but everything else is so stellar. The camera movement, the editing, everything, the lighting. It's just like, yeah, I've been waiting for them to get used to this new animation style, and yeah, they just knocked it out of the park in this one, I think.
Oh. Besides
the action.
Yeah. I guess I missed something here because I gave the animation a 3, which was mainly lots of the flips and movements. There was just some awkward, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was a lot of like the people movements. Like, yeah, like you were saying, like the backgrounds were lovely and the design, I did like all that. I think it was just, there were some very distracting movements for me that I was just like, yikes, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm coming off of just having seen Thumbelina, and so I'm giving them extra points. That. Yeah, I've given them extra points for the improvement. Where if I watched this cold like you did, I probably would have a lower score. And I initially gave it a 4, but I'm bumping it up because why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm bumping it. I gave mine a higher score because it's been a really, really long time since we've had choreography and fights.
Okay, next up we have voice acting. And once again, Kelly Sheridan. Actually, she's had a few movies where she's sat out as the protagonist. Yeah, she didn't play the protagonist in quite a few of the recent ones, but she's back. We have a few movies left of her as the protagonist, and then there's some drama which we're gonna get into. So
there's drama.
Subscribe to hear more about that. But yes, it's gonna be an interesting conversation when we get to that episode.
Oh boy, can't wait. I assume it has something to do with the studio, but okay.
Yes, for now, Kelly Sheridan is the protagonist, and she once again delivers. I don't know. I don't have much to say about her.
I didn't think it was her at first. I'll just say that when I was listening, I didn't think it sounded like her, but then I was like, as I listened, like, no, I think it is, and just watching the credits, like, yup, it is. And I was like, interesting. I don't know. She just seemed a little different, but maybe it's just me.
I mean,
trying to overanalyze. I don't know.
I think that's fair to say that she's doing something different here. I didn't catch on to it because I haven't been paying attention to her voice specifically. So, yeah, she's delivered in pretty much every one of these movies.
Mm-hmm. No, she still did good.
Yeah. I do have a bit more to say about Tim Curry, though we already kind of talked about how he's a bit lower energy here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's a character choice, not a
voice acting choice.
Yeah.
That is interesting, though, that they would then pick Tim Curry to do the voice acting for a character that's more low heat energy like that, though.
Yeah, and he's the first celebrity voice actor in a few movies to come in.
It's been a while.
Is he the only celebrity that's come back? Because he was in
He was in the first one. He was in Nutcracker.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, he's the only one of the celebrity voice actors to come back, and yeah, I don't know. I wish he had more to do, but also he delivers what he needs to.
Yeah, and I mean, I do kind of like the subtlety with this character. I mean, he's not subtle, because, like, the expressions... yeah, I don't know. I did kind of like the more sorta subtle.
Yeah.
But I was still surprised that was Tim Curry.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I just found it kind of a odd choice for that type of character.
Yeah.
I thought he was fine. I like hearing him, even just being passive.
I have a few other voices I wanted to spotlight. We actually have a ton of new voices in this movie. Mm-hmm. So, all of the Three Musketeers, this is their first Barbie movies. We have Kira Tozer playing Vivica, and she's worked on a ton of projects as a voice actor, but this movie is actually her first credited role, at least according to IMDb. And yeah, I thought she did a great job, especially considering like this might have been her very first project, like big major project. Then we have Araminez, played by Willow Johnson, who's best known for playing Kikyo in a ton of Inuyasha iterations. This is her first and only Barbie movie, but again, I think she does a very good job here. And then we have Dorla Bell. She's very prolific as well, and this is her first and only Barbie movie. So we have a lot of, this is their one Barbie movie, and I think they all knock it out of the park.
Yeah. I wish Renee got a little bit more. There's a few times when the Musketeers all have lines they interject in, and she gets she just gets snubbed, where she's just like, you! Or like, ditto! She gets that a few times while I don't know, the other girls just get better lines, and it's just like, Poor Renee.
Yeah.
Especially since she seems to me like more of the leader of the group. And it's just like, wow, okay. What the heck happened there?
Interesting, though, that Darla Bell is most known for being the competition for Barbie, as she works mostly in Bratz.
Oh,
She really don't know her.
that's neat that they got her
funny.
in this movie. Yeah, are any of them pony actors?
No.
Okay.
No. None of these three are.
Yeah, the other voices that stood out to me, we have as Madame de Beausset, we have Marilyn Gann, who she's primarily known for TV work on shows like Smallville and the It miniseries, where she once again worked with Tim Curry, and this is her first and only Barbie movie, and I don't know, she had fun with the role. I thought she was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, actually, even though we talked about how Brutus, the dog that is Philippe's sidekick, how he's a bit of a disappointing character, but I actually thought his voice actor, Brian Dobson, absolutely knocked it out of the park with the voice.
To point out, Brian Dobson is the brother of Michael Dobson, who has been a Barbie regular.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering that. I couldn't find any information in my quick glance, but glad you knew that off the top of your head. And he's
in this movie?
Yeah, he was also, or Brian Dobson is also a very prolific voice actor. Does a lot of anime, and this is his first Barbie movie. And then as you mentioned, Michael Dobson is in here playing Bertram. I don't remember exactly who that is. And also several other smaller roles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we have quite a few returning faces. We have Kathleen Barr.
Yep.
Mark Hildreth. So people we're familiar with at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other voice actors to spotlight?
No, I think you mentioned them all.
Okay. Yeah, I was impressed by the voice acting here. There weren't any voices that stood out to me as, or how do I put this in a nice way? There weren't any voices that I found annoying or disappointing. So I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I give it a 4, which is solid and standard for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also gave it a 4. I thought it was good. I may not be the best judge in this category, but no, nothing was too annoying or bad. I thought it was good. I don't know.
Yeah. So finally, we have the music.
Oh boy.
I have thoughts here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say, like, the score itself, it's not Eric Colvin's best work, but it's not his worst work either. And I don't know exactly what Arnie Roth composed for this either.
I think he was just the conductor.
Okay. Yeah, I think there are some really good score pieces of the third act. The songs themselves...
No. They don't fit the time period.
Nope.
Yeah.
Or the
Some of them
anything.
fit the aesthetic or the mind, what's going through on with the story, but it just takes you out of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just basic music where they start playing like modern-esque, when they start playing like the electric guitar type music.
Yeah.
I wish that if they did that, they mixed that with the French aesthetic.
Yeah. Even compared to Diamond Castle, which Diamond Castle had more modern pop music, but it worked better there because they were going more acoustic and more sort of reserved. Where here they're like fully going into sort of this late 2000s pop.
Yeah, just the opening is just like, is this Discount Taylor Swift? Like, what is this? Also, what is this country music doing in this Renaissance Barbie movie.
Yeah.
French
What
Renaissance.
is...
Another thing to point out, when you guys watched this, did you wear headphones?
No.
No.
Okay, so during the
Interesting.
training
Why?
sequence, they had like one of their epic electric songs in there. The mixing for this film is messed up in that specific sequence because the music was coming out of the left channel. So
Huh.
I wear headphones when I watch this. It just was not pleasant to listen to.
Oh.
That is very odd. I wonder if that's something to do with the streaming version specifically or not. Because, I watched it on the TV, so I wouldn't have noticed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It-
Unbelievable during the training. That electronic instrumental of it. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Like, it sounds cool, but in the context of this movie, even though it sounds like a good, like, training song, it
No.
just does not fit this at all. There's so much disconnect, and it's upsetting.
Yeah. I did honestly like a few of these songs sort of removed from the movie.
Yeah.
Like, Making My Way, that's a song that I might listen to. The one thing I will say, when in the third act, they're at the masquerade ball, and they're revealing their fighting outfits and their weapons, and Unbelievable kicks it. It's incredibly
okay.
cheesy,
Yeah.
but it just worked for me. I was so, like, yeah, I was happy.
It's strange because there is sort of like, yeah, I don't know. There's sort of like that mood where it's nice because it's like, oh yeah, fight music, but it also still doesn't fit.
Yeah, it worked for me in that moment. It didn't work for me in any of the other moments. I guess I was just invested enough in the story at that point that it didn't bother me. But yeah, I wouldn't advocate it for it as like a good musical choice at all.
I like the One for All, or I don't know the song titles, but that One for All, whatever.
All
song
for one, yeah.
I don't know. I just, again, like, the music genre doesn't really fit the movie, but it's nice.
Yeah,
It's a catchy song.
My sister and I actually discovered afterwards that if you play it on times 1.5 speed, it sounds like an anime opening.
Okay.
Which just really makes me want like a weekly Barbie and the Three Musketeers anime where they just go on like adventures throughout France and solve problems.
Yes.
And there's a
But, yeah.
tournament.
They play
arc.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it would work, but
Beach
yeah,
episode.
the
Every episode has Unbelievable in it somewhere.
yeah.
Because of course it does.
Yeah. It definitely didn't fit the setting, but I don't know. I liked a few of the songs a little bit.
Yeah.
But oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, out of the context of this movie, a lot of it would be so much better. It's just, yeah, pretty much never just really fit.
Out of the context,
even-
sure, but within the movie,
Yeah.
within the time period, it just didn't really work.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's my same problem.
I think it is worth bringing up at this point. This is the last historically set Barbie movie.
I knew we were near the end of them.
Yeah. So, kind of the end of an era here, and you can hear it in the music that they're looking more modern.
Yeah.
I believe there's a few, like, fantasy ones that kind of, and there's the Mariposa sequel still coming up.
Oh, there's another Mariposa.
Yes. But yeah, this is kind of the end of an era in terms of these sort of historical fantasy, even though this isn't really a fantasy movie. So yeah, it's interesting that they went this direction with the music. It maybe foreshadows where they're going in the future. But yeah, I gave the music a 3.5 out of 5. It's the element of the movie that I think brings it down the most.
It does. Because it's very distracting.
Yes.
I also gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Also because it's not period accurate, and plus that one song wasn't mixed properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. And basically same thing. It's very distracting, doesn't fit.
Even though the music by
context
itself
of the
is
movie.
solid for other things.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
they could reuse that kind of music in some other project, and I'd be on board.
Yeah,
But
which leaves my
nope.
total score in 18, which is 72% and 3.6 rating.
Yeah, my total score is a 21.5, which is a 4.3 on the 5-point scale at an 86%, and that puts it near. It's in my top upper half, even like upper third, I believe. So
Yeah, it's
I
upper
dug it.
half rating.
I really dug this one.
Looks like my total is also 18, so 72%, 3.6.
Yeah,
Yep.
same as John there.
We got the same score there.
Yeah, I thought it was solid, especially coming off of the last few where.
Honestly, a part of me is slightly disappointed to see the 3.6 because I wouldn't change any of my ratings, but just looking at that, it does look a little low for the movie, since I still thought the movie overall was pretty solid. So I don't know, in a way, it's like my score is a bad reflection of it, but I did enjoy it.
3.6 is a little bit high for me, but sure.
Yeah, our rating system has its limitations.
Yeah, it factors in just our thoughts on the overall quality, just not how much we actually like the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time with this one.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was much better than I remembered it being.
Somewhat.
Yeah, same with me. This is the last of these Barbie movies that I've seen multiple times. Because this was one that my sister owned, and this was kind of on rotation in the movies we watched. So, yeah, going forward, I don't know, this feels like the end of an era in a lot of ways. Perhaps Diamond Castle is more definitively the end of the era, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're going to be moving in a very different direction going forward.
Yeah, because I feel like this is the last of what I think of as like the older classics. I think going forward, if we haven't gotten there yet, is where I feel the more modern Barbie movies start.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Exiting maybe what is the golden age of Barbie on somewhat of a high note.
Yeah. But you have so many movies to go. You've just gotten out of the golden age. Oh,
yeah,
no.
16 total movies.
Yep. We've made it quite far.
Yeah. How many in total is there?
There
30 some.
are, yeah. Wow. It's quite a few, and we're gonna power through these.
Okay.
I am curious to see what the future holds. And speaking of the future, make sure to follow us on social media so you know when new episodes are posted. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find an up-to-date list of all of our Barbie movie rankings. If you're ever curious to see where a specific movie lands, that's a great place to find that information. And join us next week for a discussion of Barbie in A Mermaid Tale. We were supposed to have another guest on this episode, but they're going to hopefully be joining us for that one, so should be a lot of fun as well, and we look forward to seeing you then.